The Sam Sorbo Show is brought to you in partnership by the Herzog Foundation.
Welcome. Today's guest is somebody who is back by popular demand. He hasn't been on for a while, but Kevin Sorbo takes the hot seat. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Here we go.
Sam Sorbo,
Sam, welcome back to the program.
I'm glad we welcome Sam Sorbo.
It's great to have you here.
All right, welcome back to the Sam Sorbo Show. So this gentleman is well known by me and by most of you. He's an actor, a director, a producer. He's a very multi-talented individual, and he's probably now getting more renowned for his Twitter feed than anything else. Kevin Sorbo, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, Sam.
So it's pretty funny. I have a couple of questions here that people have been wondering, and I thought we would start there and just take it from there and see where the conversation takes us. So people have written in and asked you to tell a little bit about the background of how we met and our, love story. What do you say?
Well, we met on the beautiful country of New Zealand on the set of Hercules. And you're supposed to be down because every episode we do, we always have a read-through. So after my long day on set and after I work out, I've still got to go through this read-through to make my day about 19 hours long from door to door. And you were unable to make it because there was a volcano that hit in the center of the island there on Lake Taupo. So no flying in because of all the stuff in the air. So you came a day later. And then Charlie Siebert, who was directing that episode, asked if I would come in to meet with you to read through it because it was a big part. It was a big, romantic part in a Hercules episode. And so I met you at Charlie's. I believe we met at his apartment he was staying in. And I put my hand out to shake your hand, and you went and gave me a little hug. And like I said, oh, this is the Hollywood thing, So. That's kind of how we met. And the next day, was it the next day we worked together, or was it a couple of days off?
No, it was the very next day.
And it was a Friday.
It was.
Because we had a 3-day weekend coming up. There's a holiday down there. And it was a night shoot at one of our outdoor locations, which was probably the biggest location they had there. We had villages, and this one was a castle, a moat around it. I mean, it was amazing. And you're not going to chime in and tell us, or I have to tell everything?
I actually made myself a promise that I wasn't going to interrupt you or say much of anything because this is your moment to shine.
Well, I'm not going to get it completely right because you always come in and put in a few more details than I do. But I know that scene was the final scene of the show because it's a goodbye and it's a kiss. It's not like a passionate kiss. It's a sad kiss and it's a sad goodbye. And the episode is called Prince Hercules. And I have to kiss you goodbye. And I walked up to you. Well, first I said, Sam, how are we going to make this work? And you said, how are we going to make what work? Because I was already very, very, very flirtatious and very attracted to you. And I said, well, we got a water hazard called the Pacific Ocean between us. And, I'm in New Zealand. There's the ocean. You're in LA. I mean, and you laughed at me and said, Kevin, I don't date actors. And I don't date guys with long hair. I said, I'm making pretty good living with the long hair right now. And so I asked you, do you think we should practice this kiss? And, of course, I was being smarmy and, a little bit of a smart ass. And you said basically, sure, Kevin, sure. Annie, who's my makeup artist for all 7 years on Hercules, she's from Australia. And he said, Annie, do you have any mints? And she just whips out 8,000 different mints out of her magical makeup kit there. And you said, it's not for me, it's for Kevin. And I thought, touche, got a big laugh by everybody. And we put the mints in, and I walked over to you, and I put my hands on both sides of the director's chair you were sitting in. And so maybe we should test this out. And you didn't stop me, and I came within inches. And I think there was some electricity on both sides there. And I left that weekend. My brother Tom was visiting from Wisconsin with his son Craig, who was about 9 or 10 at the time, and I took him down to Queenstown, and we went there for 3 days for skiing down there in the South Island of New Zealand. And it was weird because I spent the whole weekend thinking about you, and it was strange for me to think in that way in such a short time. And then I bugged you and finally got a date out of you the following weekend, I guess, right? Yeah, it had to be because you were there for about a little over 2 weeks, I think, 2.5 weeks. And you got in a car, and of course, I always love playing the joke on people because they always get on the wrong side of the car because New Zealand drives on the other side of the road. And I think I joked you got in the driver's side or something. I purposely, I think, did that. And I was like, no, did you want to drive? And then I got you in the car and I had country music on. And you said, country music? And I said, yeah, it's the only country music station in all of Canada. I mean, all of New Zealand. I love all kinds of music, but, country music is one of my favorite. And you said, no, I love country music. And then we went out and we were talking and I said something. And then you asked me if I was conservative. I said, yeah, I don't really fit into Hollywood too. I'm pretty conservative. Then I said something else, and you asked me, well, are you a Christian? I said, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm not a perfect person in any way or shape or form, but I'm a Christian. And you went, wait a minute, Kevin. Country music, Christian, conservative, the 3 C's. I think I'm in love with you. And that's kind of how the whole thing sort of started.
I would never have been so bold as to say, I think I'm in love with you.
But
I probably did.
But it was good. It was a good start. There's no question. And I said some stuff I've never said on a first date with somebody. I told you, I said, I know where I'm going to get married. And you said, where? And I said, well, there's this church up in like 13,000 foot level in the Alps there. And you said, is it in Garmisch? And I looked at you. I said, yeah, because I shot a commercial way before the Hercules years in Garmisch for a ski clothing company. And I said, how do you know? She says, well, because I got that painting of that church in my condo back in Beverly Hills. And I went, what? And then
my grandfather gave me that painting.
That's right. It was your grandfather. And I saw it, so I can witness it. That was real. And then for some stupid reason, I told you that when I get married, I'm going to have 3 kids. And I'm going to have them in the order of boy, boy, girl. And you said, that's what I'm going to have. And I was looking at you. I said, it was just so weird. For first date, it was very weird conversation. It's usually, it's like a second month into dating or something. Start talking about stuff like that. And
it's a minefield. Like you avoid that part of the conversation on a first date, right?
Well, certainly I have always done that on first dates. So that was unusual for me. But I don't know. I kind of knew right away. And then you left. We kept in touch. I only had one more episode to film at the end of season 4, and it was with what's her name? She went on to do Catherine Bell. She went on to do Jag for like 10 years after that. So I went from there to Bratislava, Slovakia, to shoot Call the Conqueror. Big Universal Pictures. My first big budget movie. I think it was like a $30 million budget. And I got the lead as Cull. Cull was the father of Conan in the books, in the comic books, also the novels as well by S.E. Howard, I think his name is. And we were talking, we kept in touch because it was at the time of You've Got Mail, right? There was a whole internet thing was really starting to take off. And so the studio called me up. Universal said, hey, we really like this Sam Jenkins you worked with. We thought you guys had really good chemistry. There's a 3-show arc that they want to use her in. And we want to make sure you guys got along, So they're looking out for me. I'm the star of the show. So they wanted to make sure that I'm going to be stuck with you for like 2 months down there. That wasn't going to drive me insane. And I said, oh, she's all right. She's all right. I was playing her kind of cool. And as soon as I hung up, I called you when you were working on Chicago Hope at the time. And I said, look, they're going to call you up to come down and work on, do a show for like, you'll be here for like 7 weeks. And of course you took the role and you came down, and that really just sealed the deal for both of us. I mean, that was really pretty much it. And while I was over and shooting in Slovakia and Croatia and Cull, I invited my dad over. My mom couldn't travel. She just had surgery in her back. She couldn't get around very well. And my dad came over, and I told you, I said, don't worry, you be safe. My dad's going to be here. You'll get your own hotel room, all this kind of stuff. And my dad did something that he's never done in any person I've dated at all. I introduced you, and he hugged you. And I was like, what? I was, what? And I thought that was kind of weird. And he came up to me when we left, and he said, she's a keeper, Kev. And and then I remember my mom telling me when Dad came home, and he goes, oh, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. So, they'd kind of given up on me because here I was in my mid-30s and still single. When I tell people how old I was when I got married, they go, oh, so you were divorced and married before? No, just never married before. So I was the big holdout in my family because all 4 of my siblings got married in their 20s. So I was the holdout. My parents, I think, were giving up on me.
Yeah, well, you didn't find the one.
Exactly. I didn't find the one. As simple as that.
So you are
there's us right there. Wait, this side. Where am I? On this side. I get mixed up in my own room. That's our wedding. That's our wedding announcement right there. That's me as like, I don't know, we're both like probably 5 years old here. So there you go. It's even on my wall still.
Yeah. You must have a great interior designer.
I do.
So you starred in God's Not Dead, and a lot of people want to know, did you expect that movie to be as successful as it was?
No. I knew we had a good movie. It was a good script. It was a good role. It was my second movie with Pure Flix. I'd done What If a few years earlier. And I always tell people, and I mean it when I say it, I think What If's a better movie than God's Not Dead, but independent movies, you never know how they're going to take off and how they're going to do. And the biggest thing holding them back is promotional money. When you're shooting movies at a $2 or $3 million budget, you can't have a bigger budget than that because you just can't afford. You can't find somebody to give that kind of money to do. Get on every radio show, get on talk shows, get on whatever to promote it. We're competing against $300 million movies in Hollywood, and then Pirates of the Caribbean, Avatar, whatever, and they have $100 million advertising budget. And that's kind of common for those big budgets. So you see the trailer in every football game, every soap opera, every sitcom. So they just drench everybody, the audience, with, hey, you got to see this movie. And so we got to rely on word of mouth. And God's Not Dead. God's Not Dead. I knew we had a good movie. They were actually hoping, Pure Flix, when I say they, Pure Flix were hoping, they said, if we can make $10 million in the theaters, it would be huge. And it would be, because that would have been 5 times the budget. And it opened at $11 million because they did something. They did a couple things smarter. This was when really good faith-based movies were really starting to take hold, and they went out to every church, every leader and religious leader, and said, "Hey, here's a screening of the movie. Would love to know your thoughts. Please tell your congregation to support it." And they supported it. $11 million opening weekend. That little $2 million budget went on to make $140 million. In the history of Hollywood.
They also had a very effective, I remember, very long pre-opening campaign where they released the trailer. They cut a very effective trailer, and they released it on Facebook, and it just went like wildfire.
Yeah, they had tens of millions of views. And also, Robertson, which one was it again?
Oh, Willie Robertson.
Willie Robertson has a small cameo in it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, when the credits are rolling.
You should point out that at the time he was at the pinnacle. He was huge.
The Duck Dynasty thing was massive.
Yeah.
And so he comes out at the very end because he was only in the movie itself, like, I don't know, 5 minutes or less. But he comes out at the end, he says, because nobody left the theaters. I went to a couple of screenings and people would stand up and applaud it. He would come out then and say, hey, pull out your phones right now. They're in the movie theater and text every single person God's Not Dead. Just put God's Not Dead. So it became this huge, cheap way to get recognition for the movie. So it just took off. And that's why I became so successful. And I've shot over 90 movies, and God's Not Dead, What If, Let There Be Light, movies like that. That's in my top 5 favorite movies I've ever been part of.
Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about Raising Godly Sons. And your latest film. Let's talk quickly about the latest film. You've got a couple actually, but one is available on DVD, Firing Squad.
Yes.
So tell me just a brief. Oh, and there it is. Fabulous.
Can I get out that reflection coming in?
It's based on a true story, right?
It's a true story. My character, when he was in his 20s, Of course, I didn't play that kid. We didn't have no flashbacks. That'd be a lot of makeup to make me look like my 20s again. But he was in his 20s. He was surfing down there, and he saw somebody flirting with his girlfriend on the beach. He got angry. He gets up there, picks a fight with a guy, and he accidentally kills the guy. Well, he got the death penalty in Indonesia. And the death penalty in Indonesia is the firing squad. And he was in prison for about 30 years. And during that time, he found God and became a pastor. And he started having Sunday, it wouldn't just be on Sundays. He would always be preaching. He had a church service in there all the time. He saved a lot of souls of fellow prisoners and also guards. And ultimately, though, he did face the firing squad in 2015. So it's not that long ago. But it's a wonderful story. Cuba Gooding Jr. is in it. Cuba Gooding Jr. is amazing in this movie. And then there's James Barrington. James Barrington's a new guy in action. He was a big child star in England at the time, but he became a caretaker for his mother. She became very ill. So for a long time, he got away from business. He came back in, and he's the main guy in this movie. It's a wonderful story about him because he's the most recent one to come in on death row. And he's the last person that I save his soul, so to speak, through Jesus. And it's a wonderful, touching movie. And Cuba Gooding, of course, is Cuba Gooding. He's awesome.
So it's a true story. Is it true that the guards actually wept when your character was?
Yeah. He wouldn't take the blindfold. They always gave blindfolds. He refused the blindfold. And he looked at the people facing him, the dozen guys with guns facing him, and says, "Remember, I love you and God loves you too." And initially they didn't want to fire. And the head captain of the squad had to yell at him a couple of times to actually finally fire him and shoot him. But he stayed, he was calm, he was peaceful the whole time, and he just looked at him and smiled as they fired bullets at him.
How did you find the project?
Tim Che is a director, producer. He's come forward to me a couple times before. We can never find the timing to work together. And this one almost didn't happen because there's an overlap with something else I was filming at the time. And so I came in and we aggressively shot my stuff just over 2 days. I mean, really should have had a week with my role. But he cranked it out, and I'm so grateful that we were able to work it out and be in that movie because it's a wonderful, touching movie. And I've been doing these. I do a lot of speaking events, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and just mention that movie right away. Of course, they mention movies that that I did with you, that I directed and starred in, and you starred in and produced, and Miracle in East Texas, and Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist, based on the Left Behind books.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. All right. All of which are available, I think, at sorbostudios.com. And you can get an autographed copy. You'll autograph it for people, won't you?
Yes. Oh, and by the way, you can go online to get Firing Squad along with Gallows Road, which is a wonderful movie. Ernie Hudson's in it. Ernie's great in this movie. And it's really a song about, a movie about redemption once again. And I say it's the 3 R's: racist, redemption, and revival. So it's
racism, redemption, and revival.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, those are the real 3 R's because I say that for but those are people that can't spell math and arithmetic.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
That's right.
All right, we have to take a break. I'm going to ask him about raising godly sons, but I also want to talk to him about Trump, the new orders that Trump has put forward, the executive orders about education also, and finally, the advice that he would give himself. Hi there. So for years, I've been harping on the problems in our schools and the fact that most of our government schools, our factory schools, have been overrun by this progressive ideology that is really at war with our traditional American values, our Judeo-Christian values. And parents have finally started waking up more and more, which pleases me to no end. But they're worried about what to do. They are not sure which way to turn, and that's why it gives me great pleasure to announce my continuing partnership with the Herzog Foundation. So the Herzog Foundation is a trusted source for K through 12 Christian education. They have a really remarkable suite of resources for parents and for families. They have an online publication known as The Lion and a network of podcasts, including mine. So
they can offer a wide range of advice and information for Christian parents to make the best decisions regarding the education of their children and the values that they instill in their children. And so if you want to find out any more about this remarkable organization, just go to herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com. Thanks so much.
Are you looking for quality homeschooling resources? Apologia offers top-notch curriculum for all ages. It's designed to inspire a love of learning and a strong foundation in faith. Head over to apologia.com and use code SORBO10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Equip your children with the best education tools and save today at Apologia, the trusted choice for homeschooling families. All right, so welcome back to Sam Sorbo Show here on locals.com. And my guest is, of course, the great Kevin Sorbo. We'll bring him right into the studio. There we go. So you're back, and we left off with these fabulous movies that you've been doing. And it's amazing how the movies find you. But I want to switch over into what's happening in the world today, because you've been very vocal on Twitter. You've been very vocal elsewhere. I mean, it is kind of what got you banned in Hollywood. I mean, pretty much dropped, but your career hasn't really suffered. So you're really like not a cautionary tale, frankly, for people. And how often do you have people say to you, hey, thanks for being a voice, man?
Get that all the time. Every movie I've been doing, certainly over the last 6-7 years, easily I'll get, if it's not one person's a dozen during the course of filming. When they come up one by one, very quietly whispering to me, thanks for being a voice. I just did a Comic-Con autograph show in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there were like 70 actors there. And I know that probably 60 of them hated me just because I'm not a liberal, which is so childish to me. I look at this childish behavior from the left. It blows my mind. I don't care where you stand politically. I don't get angry about it. Talking about my posts on X. My posts on X are sarcastic, but it's truthful. And it's not angry. It's not like looking to blow up the world or anything, but these people have so much hate and anger. And I'm walking around there. I decided to take a walk around the seats because I knew a few of the actors there. Well, I had about 5 or 6 other actors I never met before. And I've heard of the shows they've been or something. And they walk up to me and said, thank you for being a voice. Just like I got on movie sets. And I go, be a voice for yourself. Don't be afraid. Well, I'll get blacklisted like you. Yeah, I got blacklisted. I'm the first cancel culture victim in Hollywood because this happened 11 years ago. That Hollywood said, we can't work with you anymore. And like, I've always been a Christian. I've always been conservative. I don't think that makes me better than anybody else. But in Hollywood, God forbid you don't follow, freedom of speech. But of course, for them, it's one-way street, as you know. The hypocrisy.
It doesn't make you better than anybody else, but you are better than everybody else.
That's true. That's true.
And that's what they struggle with.
As long as, well, yeah, it's the weirdest thing in the world to me. It's incredibly childish. And Hollywood is, look at it, they're the snake that eats their own tail. Everything they've done to destroy America and along with the government for the last 10 years, look what it's done to them. I mean, Hollywood is, people are waking up. And from the last election, we can see now for a fact that people are so sick of that crap that they're ready for a change. They want America to be great again. There's nothing wrong with that.
You just have to look at the viewership of the Oscars or the Golden Globes, and you see that it's just a deteriorating brand, sadly.
But I don't think they care. They do nothing to make it better. They don't care. They have their own little bubble. They pat themselves on the butt. They shake hands, but they got the knife in the back. I mean, they're so hypocritical to each other. And I don't know if they really even like each other because the egos and the jealousies and insecurities just permeate throughout that business.
Yeah, it's sad. I'm reminded of that movie premiere that we went to. Do you want to tell the audience that quick little story?
Sean Penn movie called The Pledge, I think it was.
Yeah.
And a lot of A-listers are there. I mean, Jack Nicholson was in that movie as well, but there were a lot of big name people. You can just start throwing out any big name you know. And they were there. And I remember I looked at you, I reached over, and I said, hey, can you feel the desperation in the room? Because you could feel it. There was nothing comfortable about that. It was the weirdest thing in the world.
Everybody was like, hey, it's so good to see you.
Yeah,
it was so not meant. There was
nothing genuine. There was nothing genuine about it. And you and I have been lucky enough to go to our share of screenings through the years. They don't invite us anymore because we're not part of that club anymore. But I was never really part of that club. Even before I met you, I was never really a Hollywood guy. And I was grateful. I'm not a kiss ass person whatsoever. I worked my butt off to get to where I am. And, it's called show business. I treated it like a business. I had a double business major, and I used that to market and advertise myself, basically. And I never took no for an answer. I used to bug my managers and agents all the time. I remember one agent telling me, Kevin, I got 100 of the clients. I said, I don't give a crap about them. You think they care about me? I said, let me get in the door and show what I can do. If they don't like me, they don't like me. There's nothing I can do about that. But it's a horrible business for so many things, reasons. But the reason I'm even in the business is that because I love it. I love being on the set. I love the feel of it. I love the creative process. And that's why you and I formed Sorbo Studios once I got the boot out of Tinseltown.
Right. So let's talk quickly a little bit of politics. Trump took office and issued immediately these executive orders. One is for only 2 genders. The other one is ending DEI. Do you want to comment on either of those?
It's about time. And I think people are getting sick of it. There are people already coming out of that saying, okay, enough of this stuff. I've always said, and I've always compared it to professional sports. If there's DEI in professional sports, it wouldn't be that professional now, would they? I've always said, I want more people from Guam on the NBA. I mean, the reality is you want the best people working for you. I don't care what their religion is, what color they are. I want the best people. When I do a movie, we look for the best people. And it's insane what the Democrats have done over the decades. It's insane what the media has been doing over the decades. And now they're waking up. Even Target recently said they're getting rid of the DEI program. Will they really? I don't know, but at least they're saying it, and more people are doing it. You hire, who knows what this latest plane accident, if it wasn't somebody that was not qualified to really be an air traffic control person. I don't know, but I mean, if that's the reason, then God forgive them. But what they're doing with this stuff is it's crazy and it's insane. Costco is the only big company out there right now saying, no, we're still going to hire inferior people based on race. And it's like, now
that's okay because you can never find them anyway.
Pardon?
I said that's okay because you can never find them anyway.
No, it's like it's sad that we are where we're at, but the thing is, we've reached a huge tipping point, and the fact that Trump just demolished them this time because they couldn't cheat as much in the polls this time around. And I told him last time I saw him, you and I are very lucky to go to Mar-a-Lago a lot. And I said, get rid of mail-in voting. I know you got a billion things to do, but look at it. I love Babylon Bee. They just came out recently and said that they're starting impeachment procedures against Trump for doing what he actually said he was going to do. I love that.
It's very good. The fires in LA and the mayor and the fire chief for that area, it'll be interesting to see when the dust settles. They're still struggling out there. They're still struggling with the bureaucratic tape, which Trump went out there to try to dissolve and said that it was dissolved. And apparently it's still there. They're not allowing people back into their homes, which is just
I've always wondered how bad it has to get for people in blue states to stop voting blue. Seriously, how bad does it have to get for you? 20 million people across the border we know nothing about. I love people say, I want open borders. Then I ask them, do you lock your house up at night? Well, yeah. Why? America's a house. Of course you want to know who's coming into the country. Let them come here. My grandparents came over here legally from Norway. They went through the process. They went through all the stuff they had to do to become citizens. So why do people just say, have open borders? I remember having this discussion with a woman in Phoenix one time, and she got in my face, and I said, what if you went home right now, there are 7 illegals in your house? I'd let them stay. And we just started laughing so hard. Yeah, sure. Give me your address, because I see plenty of them around street corners looking for jobs. I'm going to send them your way. They try to pretend they're so much more holier than the rest of it. They're so much more perfect and giving. This same person wants her relatives out after 3 days of Christmas, and she says, I'd let these people I don't know stay in my house. It's so stupid and ridiculous. She's got one of those people that have coexist bumper stickers.
Okay. Let's take it down a thing. Let's talk about parenting, raising godly and masculine young men, and raising daughters to understand their value.
Right.
Any tips for parents?
Be a parent. Don't worry about being a best friend. Your job is to be a parent. become their better friend when they're old enough to take care of themselves. But you were great with the kids. I mean, you led the Bible study in the morning. You led the homeschooling. I did the tough job that most teachers have if they're PE teachers. I'll take care of the physical education part of it. My parents were great. They really were. They were very godly people. My dad, I always said he ruled the family with soft thunder hands. When my dad got mad, we knew he was mad. Didn't have to raise his voice because here we know the difference between right and wrong. We know the difference between good and evil. And unfortunately, a lot of people pick wrong and they pick evil because they want to live in the darkness. But my parents, it was church every Sunday. I had a church meeting every Wednesday when I was through junior and high school at our church. It's important to have that. My parents taught hard work to all of us. They were Walter Mondale, Hubert Humphrey Democrats, which those guys would be either centrist or they would be, mildly conservative today. So they grew up in farms in Iowa during the Depression. They know what hard work is. They know what hard times are like. So to me, that upbringing was huge for me to always work hard. I mean, I started a paper when I was 9 years old. For 7 years, I got up at 4:30 in the morning, 6 days a week in Minnesota winters and delivered my 80 newspapers every day. So I learned the responsibility and hard work very young in my age. That's because of my parents.
Do you think you've passed those values on to your kids?
Yeah, our kids are hardworking. I mean, they are hardworking. They're good students. They're ambitious. They want their own lives, their own careers. They're go-getters. Like I tell you, it's very impressive.
Okay, so your education. Tell us just briefly. You mentioned a little bit about your degrees that you were seeking, but a little bit about your education and how you use it in your job today.
I don't really use math, but I still use math. I think Minnesota at that time had a better public education system back in the 70s than they do today. And I think better than most states are today because all these states are still in a woke world. And I think we brainwashed most of the teachers 40 years and younger are completely brainwashed by the crazy left-wing ideology. So I think, number one, I'd love to get rid of public education completely. Get rid of government. Anything the government runs, they destroy. All you got to do is look at the Postal Service and the DMV and anything else. They create laziness is what they do. And I love the fact that you have Trump and they're appointing people to get rid of this stuff. Get rid of all this fat that's in our government. And they're going to do it. And they're going to keep doing it. So to me, my education, certainly from college, I had a double business, marketing and advertising. I market and advertise myself. Because I thought if there was two things I would have done.
You didn't get your degree.
I didn't. I'm a dropout. I dropped out my senior year. So I was just enjoying playing sports with my buddies more than anything else. I knew what I wanted to do. I was taking drama classes, and you don't got to go to college to become an actor. I do recommend. There's plenty of wonderful coaches. I studied with 3 different coaches over 6 years in LA that were huge for me. It's because it's like going to basketball practice. You got to get up. You got to get up and practice. You got to get up and do stuff. But I don't think you have to go to college to become an actor. And I wouldn't go to college to become most jobs right now. I just did a movie with somebody. She only had 2 scenes with me in this movie called A Normal Like Me. I'm sorry. That one that we were trying to raise money for. This Another Life. It's called Another Life. It's another true story set in North Carolina. And this girl, her senior year at the University of Virginia, told me that her degree was gender studies. And I laughed. I said, "You got to be kidding me. That's a real degree?" She said, "Yes." And she got defensive. And I said, "What are you going to do with that?" "I don't know, teach." "Oh, good. You're going to teach more of this." Look, I could have saved your parents $200,000. Male, female. Boom. You just graduated. It's insane. It's insane that her parents allowed them to spend that money on a useless degree where she's going to end up serving coffee in a Starbucks at an airport. And she didn't need a degree to do that.
Okay. So yes, we have the answer to that. So the last question would be, what advice would you give your younger self? You can pick any age, just
Right.
What's the, one nugget of advice?
Sure. I love Joan Crawford's answer to that. Somebody asked her about that when back in the 1950s. Joan Crawford, of course, at that time had been around Hollywood for 30 years. And they said, "What advice would you give young actors?" And she said, "Take Fountain." And at the time, Fountain was a great street to take because I bypassed Santa Monica Boulevard and Olympic, and it was much quicker to go. And I thought, what a fantastic answer. That's an inside joke for people who live in LA and that know the traffic routines there. Take Fountain. I thought it was great. I would say don't be afraid to follow your dreams, as corny as that is. Don't let anyone set your limitations, especially yourself. It shouldn't, anything you go after in life, it shouldn't be easy. It should be hard. It should test you. You should want to be tested. You should want to be nervous. You should want to be excited about things at the same time. If you don't like a job, then switch it. But people are afraid of change. Fear is an amazing weapon and holds a lot of people back. And governments use it left and right. And our government certainly put on full display. Every government did during COVID, where, wear a mask. We all knew it was useless. 6 feet apart. We laughed at that stuff. That's what got me taken on Facebook for misinformation, which now, of course, they should bring it back, my Facebook followers, because everything I said was true, and I knew it was back then. But to me, it's go after what you want in your life, and don't settle for anything less. I'm a 13-year overnight success in Hollywood. Okay, I've had plenty of negative no's in my life and plenty of obstacles, but God never promised any of us an easy lifestyle. When you have obstacles in front of you, that's part of life. Get over it. Just work a way around it.
So I was going to say that your advice was don't be afraid, but I think it's better said that your advice is don't allow fear to hold you back. Yeah. And I think that's brilliant advice. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure, dear. Thank you.
So this is the Sam Sorbo Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Just remember, speak truth and speak it boldly.
The views and opinions expressed in the Sam Sorbo Show are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the Herzog Foundation.